Hi, today I'm so happy to have one of my good friends and favorite workout buddy, Alexis, here with me to talk about the topic of mental health. So, Alexis, you got 10 minutes?
I do, in fact, have 10 minutes.
Yay, but just 10. Alrighty. So my very first question for you is, it's not so much a question, it's more about if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and why are you passionate about this topic?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for having me. My name is Alexis Lopez. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in San Antonio, Texas. I've been in practice for about 8 years, but I've been practicing for about 15 years. And obviously the topic of mental health is important to me. But additionally, the topic of mental health and how it plays into the workplace is important because I would say about 90+% of the clients that I see, work is an important aspect of their functioning, of their lives, obviously financially, but also personally and emotionally.
A lot of times we tie a lot of ourselves to the jobs that we do. It's almost
Definitely.
like an identifying factor.
Absolutely, and it's something that we do 40+ hours a week. That's a lot of time to commit to something, and so when that is going well, it can really enhance parts of our life, and when it's really tough, it can really we can struggle in ways.
Well, I want to ask you around kind of in times of crisis specifically, and when it comes to your clients and the folks that you've been speaking to, is there some sort of trend that emerges during times of crisis?
Yes, I mean, this crisis is obviously a little different in a lot of ways, but in times of crisis we do feel, well, if you imagine yourself kind of like floating, you're balancing, right? You're standing, and then a crisis is something that kind of takes our feet out from underneath us, and then we feel like everything looks really unfamiliar, and we have to kind of get our bearings again. And so in general, that's kind of what a crisis can feel like. This is something that is obviously affecting us professionally, personally, our families, our relationships, our social life, our fitness, our health, all those things. And so yeah, I think right now an overall trend that I'm hearing is balance, right? Balancing all of those things. It's really tough to, if you were going into the office every day and then your employer said all of a sudden, okay guys, you know what, starting tomorrow, this is all going to look totally different. You're going to be working in a different space. You're going to be working separate from each other. The protocols that we have for all these things are going to be totally different. It would be a pretty big adjustment period. So I would say balancing that while working at home with families, right? A lot of spouses are trying to coordinate their schedules with each other because kids need supervision, and kids need, they have to do their schoolwork too and be engaged in things. And so I would say balancing all of those things and trying to do their best with their work. What I hear from all of my clients who have jobs is that they're very, very thankful to continue to have their jobs, because we keep hearing, right, on everywhere about people not having that luxury. And so a lot of them feel really, really fortunate and really want to continue to do their jobs at the level that they were doing them. But it's hard, right? There are limits in terms of, again, that balance between pulling yourself out from what you're doing and getting yourself in that mindset to, okay, now I've got to go help my kids get their work done, or do laundry, or make 3 meals a day and then clean up afterwards. It's a lot of work.
Well, yes.
Can relate.
Yeah, I understand. What do you think, to that point, what do you think that employers should be really cognizant of when their employees are when we're all really going through something like this?
I think, first of all, it's helpful to know and to expect that your employees really want to do their best, that they're not thinking about this as like a paid vacation, that a lot of people, you wouldn't have hired them otherwise and kept them on, right? That they're dedicated people who want to continue to do their job. So even if their production, their job performance is affected by this, it doesn't mean it's because they don't care or they're not trying. It's because they're being pulled in a million different directions. So I think that part is really important. And of course, feeling supported is really helpful. I mean, if you think about it, when you're trying your best and you're struggling, if someone just pops in and says, I care, I'm struggling to, you know, that empathetic, that tone that you can use can really just, I mean, even for me, like when I feel like I'm struggling and I have a friend reach out and say, I think you're doing a great job, it makes all the difference in the world, because then you get that boost and you're like, you know what, this is hard, but I can continue to do that, or to do this.
Do you think for those employers that have employees that are still on the front lines, that are even in times of crisis, and you know, we can say crisis can even equate to bad weather, to
Sure.
things like, it doesn't necessarily mean a worldwide pandemic, but when you still have those boots on the ground employees, their mental health is also important. And do you think there's either a difference in tone and how they should talk to those employees, or what is it that you think they might need to be aware of when it comes to their mental health as well?
Sure, sure. I think listening is really important. You know, when you're struggling and you're having a hard time, for instance, if you're someone on the front lines and your employers are not, you know, they're more of a supportive role in all of this, I think it's helpful to be heard, to feel like what you're going through is hard, not because you're not doing it right, but because it's just hard. Because sometimes when, you know, if you think about your parents, right, kids and parents, kids sometimes just want to go to their parents and say, this is really hard and I'm struggling, and not have their parents answer the questions, or, well, why don't you try this? Well, why don't you do that? Because that feels different. And so I think, well, that is part of it as an employer, of course, offering ideas, but I think feeling like they can talk to you and say that this is hard and not pretend like this is not hard is really important. And it can only happen if they feel like you're truly listening, and if they can and feel like they can say whatever they want. You know, gripes go up. What is it? Gripes go up the chain of command, right? So that's a quote from Saving Private Ryan, by the way. But I love it, because it's what we need from our leaders is you know, really good listening skills, really good empathy skills, and also a tone like, also what you would want from your parents is, you know, this is tough and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have all the answers. There's not a ton of clarity, but whatever happens, we're going to be okay, and we're here to support you. We will figure this out. I think that's a helpful tone.
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you. You know, just because we're almost out of 10 minutes, but I did want to ask you, I know it goes so fast, post any sort of crisis, what do you think employers need to do in order to ensure the mental health of their employees?
Yes. So we're kind of going through a collective grieving process. We're kind of grieving what was, right? The world is going to be different. It's going to be okay, but it will be different. Just like grief, right? There are stages to grief. And so how would you treat an employee who's coming back from bereavement leave or grief, or going through a really huge life transition? Is that you would treat them with, well, obviously kindness and empathy, and also adjusting expectations, right? That when someone comes back, you don't expect them to slip right back into their previous performance, that it's going to be an adjustment period. And again, still using the language that we talked about before is helpful. I hear a lot from clients, even recently, who have gone through maybe a leave of absence because they're battling a really terrible health scare. And when they come back, it makes all the difference in how their direct supervisor speaks to them. And in terms of like feeling like, I got this, I'm getting my feet back underneath me, like we were talking before, when you get it kind of, you get your feet swiped out from under you. Feeling like, so the words and the encouragement are helpful. I think reminding employees that they do have mental health benefits associated with their insurance, or maybe employee assistance programs, is really helpful, because you know, that can be a barrier to people getting help, is just not having the information, or assuming that they don't have the benefit, or assuming that they can't afford it. So I think that just spreading the knowledge about that would be really helpful.
No, technically we are out of time, so we're going to say got 11 minutes on this one, but I am so brought up the direct supervisor, because in all of our research, it's so important and impactful what your direct supervisor does. So
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up. Well, thank you so much. You've been an amazing guest. Thank
Oh, you're
you.
amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Yay, and we're done.
Okay.